Hey everyone, this week on Band we have Long Island's one true son and punk legend Vinnie Caruana. With an accomplished career and new music out this year, both as a solo artist and a new record from his other band, I Am The Avalanche, in November, we caught up and had a chat about his formative years in the band and how it's got him to where he is today. Let's bloody do it. Nice. Hello Vinnie, how are you?
Hello, Connor. I'm well. How are you doing?
I hope my pretend intro, you didn't think it was going to be a massive intro, but there it is. That's the easy intro out of the way. It gets the awkwardness out of it.
Perfect.
Welcome to Band, where we sit down and chat with a BSM artist, past and present, about talking about a band on BSM, past and present. And we have decided that it would be best for you to chat about yourself. Vinnie Caruana on I Am The Avalanche.
Just to be self-indulgent.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worked in the past for a few people, so why not do it here as you've got a new record out? First of all, how do you feel? Are you apprehensive? Are you excited?
I feel exactly the way I felt ever since the first record I released, which is like, I'm not there yet. The record comes out in like a month on the 20th of November. Mm-hmm. But we have 2 songs that are now out. So people are listening to I Am The Avalanche's new music right now, which seemed so far, far away when we recorded it in January and February. And then didn't really know what we were going to do with it, if we were going to hold on to it until all this blows over. This isn't blowing over very as quickly as any of us wanted to. So we decided we wanted to put this out this year for the people to make the people that care about this band really happy and to make us happy. And I feel very happy to have some of the music into the world, and I think it's a good time for us to be releasing it. So I feel great. I've been listening. When we were locked down, I was standing outside of this window. I was standing right here, looking out of the window, listening to the mixes that Rhett would send me each morning. So, I was listening to it, getting really excited, and it got me through this whole quarantine situation, like working on this record and doing all the post-production and everything and approving mixes and figuring out, what sequence the record would be in, like what order the songs would be in, what the artwork would look like all these things kept us busy this year, which was cool. It was like a perfect kind of scenario where we had something to do and something we really care about and, an objective to achieve. So it feels incredible.
Good.
It feels incredible. And it's not even out yet. So when it's completely out and people are listening to the whole thing, they're going to know what's up. Like, this record's a fucking cool journey. I'm excited about it.
Good. I think that is the best way to be about new music, excited about it. And obviously you've, as people will know, had an incredibly illustrious career, long, some would say. I don't know if you'd feel like it's a long career, but going from like the beginning of I Am The Avalanche, how did it feel ending the movie life in 2003, and then a year later picking yourself back up and creating music with a different project? What was the feelings going through your mind at that period of time?
The way I Am The Avalanche came about is movie life broke up in September of 2003. I immediately went to a construction job. My friend gave me a job, and I was 2 days after movie life played in front of like 3,000 people. I was on a construction site loading a dumpster, and I wasn't happy to be there. But I wanted to get straight to work and not, sit around feeling sorry for myself, make money. You can't really sit around. Nobody can, especially not in New York.
No.
I was doing that for a bit, living in New York, working construction. Daryl was getting Daryl from Glassjaw and Head Automatica was getting Head Automatica off of the ground and putting a band together right around the time we broke up. So I joined Head Automatica that year, like that fall, and was a guitar player for Head Automatica. And so the record was recorded when I joined the band. It was already recorded. So what we were doing was we were going to San Francisco and LA, and we were mixing the record, and we were also putting a band together, half of which were San Francisco people and half of which were like Long Island and were East Coast guys.
Coast to coast.
Yeah, so the East Coast guys would go and like live in San Francisco like for periods of time and just basically jam as a band and like become tight and become a unit. And which was a really great time in my life. I enjoyed that a lot. And I was writing my own music at the time, and Daryl kept having to fly back and forth for various things home, and I would stay. We would stay in San Francisco, and I remember the first time I ever jammed on an Avalanche tune, which was Cleanup, I think. It was either Symphony or Cleanup. And it was me and two of the guys that were in Head Automatica, which would have been Larry Gorman from Glassjaw and Josh Holden from American Nightmare and myself. That's the first time I ever heard an I Am The Avalanche song. Like, that wasn't just me playing an acoustic guitar, you know?
Yeah, fully formed.
Yeah, and so you can kind of fast forward. Like, we did all that, and I played 2 shows with Head Automatica. This is before they were touring. LA Film Festival in Utah. And then I had been writing on the Avalanche stuff all along and decided it was time for me to like, I just had more to say, you know what I mean? I needed to be writing. I didn't need to just be like a rhythm guitar player in my friend's band, you know what I mean?
For sure.
As grateful as I was to be involved with that situation, because it was a really lovely experience. So that's the start of I Am The Avalanche. I basically, I went in with Mike Sapone, who recorded the first Movie Life demos in 1997. Went on to record a bunch of great records, like of friends of ours on Long Island, and basically got Scotty from the band The Strider. He's a great drummer. And Brandon Riley from Movie Life and Nightmare of You to help me make the demos. And then I took the demos to a friend of mine's place and was like, hey, this is when like if things were leaked or whatever, you know, like people paid attention to that kind of thing. So I'm like, hey, can you leak this demo and just say this is like Vinny's new band? And that's how I just kind of introduced I Am The Avalanche to the world. I just had my friend leak some demos.
Back on the forums.
Yeah. And I remember going to Skate and Surf, which is a festival that happened in Asbury Park, New Jersey. And I went and saw a bunch of friends play, and I wasn't technically in any bands at the time, so I wasn't playing. So I felt like I should just go and hang out. And I brought a backpack filled with burnt CDs of my shit. And I just saw people wearing Movie Life shirts or shirts of my friend's band. And I would be like, hey, I know you. I'd be like, cool, here's my new music. And they're like, whoa, cool. So the next step after that was to put the band together. Mike Ireland, I knew him and his friends because Movie Life would play in Mike's town in Virginia Beach, and his friends would all come out. Yeah. And we became cool with them. Like, our mutual friend Indy would book the shows, and like, so we just got to know these guys. Mike reached out. He's like, I live in New York now. I don't know if you need a guitar player. And honestly, like a few days later, I just went to Mike's spot in Brooklyn. He had just moved there, and we jammed. And I was like, cool, you're in. Like, let's put a band together.
That easy.
And he was like, there's another bedroom in here. And I was living, I was like, you know, right off of tour into working. And I was like back to living with my parents. I like, when Movie Life broke up, it wasn't like, okay, here's everyone's last final big paycheck. Good luck with your life. It was like, oh, all the money we made from this tour is going to go pay a bunch of debts. And no, you don't get any money at all. And so I was staying at my parents' house, and definitely like looking for like to move into an apartment and get the next chapter going. Mike was like, we have an apartment in this, I'm sorry, we have a bedroom open in this apartment if you're looking. And I'm like, I'm definitely looking.
Yes.
So I moved in. Yeah, I moved in. There was a guy called Brett who was one of Mike's roommates, who was a drummer, who was really good. And while this is all happening, I get this dude, Ali, reaches out to me from the UK and is like, I want to bring I Am The Avalanche over. And so the first...
did he just hear from the demos, or how he wasn't at the festival?
From the demos.
Okay.
Yeah, like they were leaked online and people were listening to him.
Sure.
And so I didn't have a band and I just pretended I did. And I was like, cool, let's do it. First Avalanche shows are going to be at the Kingston, at the Kingston Peel and at Jilly's in Manchester.
Yes.
And so I put a band together because I basically, put myself under the gun and was like, cool, we have these shows. Now you have to put a band together. Scotty from the Strider was theoretically coming to England with us, but he failed to get a passport. And so Brett, me and Mike's roommate, who was a good drummer, we were like, can you go to England?
Yeah. And
he jammed with us. And then the rest is history. That Brett is the Rat, and that's the drummer of I Am The Avalanche forever.
Wow.
Drummer of Movie Life. Nowadays, produces my solo records, produced the Movie Life record, produced the latest Avalanche record.
And because Brandon, someone can get a passport.
Yeah. And then we jammed, and it worked so well that we were like, you need to join our band. And he did immediately. And then Kellen, our bass player, he was in a band with Brandon Riley from Movie Life's little brother, Travis. They were called Scraps and Heart Attacks, and Movie Life brought them on tour back in the day. And I always admired Kellen as a musician and as a dude. So I asked Kellen to join, and he joined. And then Brandon Swanson was playing in Further Seems Forever. And Movie Life, and one of the last tours Movie Life did was a co-headlining tour with Further Seems Forever and with Amber Lynn and Autopilot Off opening. And wow. Brandon was another guy. I really dug Brandon as a player and as a dude. And I called him up and asked him if he wanted to get involved. And yeah, he started crashing at our place in Brooklyn and eventually moved here, and we got the band started.
That's like a who's who of East Coast early thousands music scene. And I don't feel like you get that much anymore, where scenes are so hard to maintain now that it seems that people won't jump ship and move places for the pure energy of being in a musical project anymore. And that's amazing.
And I think that could be attributed to age as well. I mean, we were all in our early 20s.
Yeah.
If I tried to get I'm 41. If I tried to get a bunch of 41-year-olds to relocate, they'd be like, cool. Do we have a major label contract? Who's paying for this?
Don't worry about it.
I have children, But yeah, it was definitely good that we were all still young and we were all musicians and people that wanted to go out on the road.
No commitment.
We all wanted to tour as much as the next guy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're saying those first two shows for I Am The Avalanche was in the UK. You've jammed, you've flown across the pond, and you're like, right, okay, it's kind of professional. It's got to be pro now. It's a bit of pressure. Let's do it. How did that feel? Right.
It felt good. It felt playing at the Peel was ideal, and Movie Life I had so much goodwill in the UK because of Movie Life coming over as much as we did.
Yeah.
And so we had a full room. I have like people that were down and that
Yeah.
like knew the songs that were on the demos and singing along. Like,
hell yeah. All right, this seems like a better place than ever in the podcast to take a quick ad break and let you know about that new I Am The Avalanche album, Dive. It is out on the 20th of November. It's really good, not gonna lie. I have heard it. I am allowed to hear it. You are not just yet. Like I said, it comes out on the 20th of November 2020. That means if you're listening now in the present day in 2020, you're not allowed to listen to it yet. But if you're listening in the future, you've already listened to it, or I'm thinking you probably can go and listen to it. It's very good. It harkens back to the Avalanche United days. It's got some fucking awesome choruses. It's big, it's anthemic, it's everything you really want from a modern day punk album. You can still pick up copies in the present day. That is 2020. You can still pick up copies. If you go onto the web store now, you can pre-order the yellow variant. That is out of 200. It is, as some would say, chef kiss. And then there is the standard black vinyl for everyone that just, isn't there for the visuals. They're there for the music. And I respect that, I respect that. Anyway, let's get back to the podcast. Let's hear what Vinnie has to say. Let's hear what I probably have said or said wrong. Let's be real. Buy the record. Or listen to it now if you're in the future. Okay, get back to it.
it was cool. And then the next show,
like you were saying, you came over a bunch of times. I was wondering if it was more like not that I don't think you would have nerves or anything, but maybe it was a bit of like apprehension going in because you'd been in this sort of very in the spotlight band in a scene, and obviously had come over to the UK a bunch. Was there a bit of apprehension going in with the new project? But like you said, it was full. There was it must have sort of made you feel more confident in yourself and what you've created.
I did. And I appreciated the people that just wanted to come and see what I was up to. And some of those, we made lifelong friends at that show that we still hang out with to this day.
Yeah.
And, it was special. It was very magical. We all flew over together, and the van picked us up. This dude Mick, he was really cool. I haven't seen or heard from him since these 3 days we spent with him. This dude Mick was super cool. He was a driver, and we were all like very much stoners at the time. We were all, we were writing an Avalanche record like together and like smoking a lot of weed.
Bohemian.
I remember when we got, and most of us were living together too. Like 4 of us were staying in the same apartment. I remember getting to England and all we could think about was weed. And I just remembered Mick like throwing like an ounce from the back seat, just throwing like an ounce of weed and like some rolling papers. And we were just like, oh shit. He's like, smoke as much as you want. We were like, hell yeah, this is going to be a magical trip. And it was, we did our job, but we partied hard.
Yeah.
It's a different I Am The Avalanche than you hear now. We even opened the first song I Am The Avalanche ever played live was a song that no one ever heard again. It didn't make the cut. We didn't record it for the record.
Wow. You still remember how to play it?
No, I don't.
That is.
It was really just. It was like an intro, kind of.
Okay, yeah, to get like hype the crowd up.
Yeah, it was like a jammy intro. I don't remember what we were thinking, but we were just trying a bunch of shit,
If anyone listening or anyone just in the wider audience has any sort of VHS or old MP3 of that, I'd like that submitted to BSM for a 7-inch or something.
I will get to a few of the friends that we made that day. I might be able to get something through them. I'm going to reach out.
Deals. We're making deals already. Kev's got the word.
Yeah. It's fine. I would love to see that show. It would be, I think we're definitely more of a machine now. You got to tour and like be a band for years before you're awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But we've now achieved peak awesomeness. You know?
This is it. It's coming. What has been your favorite I Am The Avalanche? I Am The Avalanche. Getting my words tongue tied there. Record so far.
Ooh,
It's a tough one.
The first it's either the first one, the self-titled. I love. It's such an era of like our life that is like so meaningful and so precious, and I love the vibe of the record. We never made another record like it.
Yeah.
That was a stony, jammy record. We were like, I don't know, we were just doing anything we wanted to do, you know, and making that record, we were eating mushrooms a lot, and we were smoking weed a lot. The funny thing is, Avalanche is known as a pretty boozy band. A lot of people come. The bar does well when I Am The Avalanche plays.
Yeah.
And it's funny when we recorded when we recorded the first record, we were in Seattle, which was amazing. We lived in Seattle for a month.
Oh, really? Wow.
It was in the springtime in April. It was beautiful. Amazing. And it's funny. We laugh about it now, but like, I Am The Avalanche barely had a drop of alcohol the entire month we were in Seattle working on the record, which is totally different now. Recording the new record, like there's like a 5 o'clock, like there's an alarm that goes off at 5 o'clock. Like, yes, we could have our first beer together. We just didn't, I don't know what happened, but we got so into being stony in Seattle, making a record, that we forgot to drink.
Happens to the best of us. Happens to the best of us. You turn into a doom band overnight for some reason. You don't know why.
Yes.
How did you feel that anything changed between the self-titled onto like Avalanche United and Wolverines later on? Because I remember the first time I sort of I Am The Avalanche was on my radar was around Avalanche United. I remember going to a show in Camden somewhere. It must have been 2012. A friend's band of mine were playing. I can't remember the venue, but it was like a proper dive, and that was like the first sort of time I was introduced to you. How do you feel?
I think we played one of the small like 200 cat rooms in Camden. It was like called the Barfly.
That's the one. There it is.
That was us with Hostage Com supporting. Hostage Com and Apologies I Have None supporting. It was a great tour.
Yeah. There was another band that I can't remember. I don't know if it was that show, or it was a Kingston show, but yeah, that was a good time. I feel like I listened to that album and never went backwards until a couple of years later, but it felt at that point you'd very much hit your stride in terms of just like banger after banger after banger. The choruses seemed to hit another level at that period of time.
Very anthemic.
Yeah.
We became who we were, which is a punk band. And when we would play, things got more punk, and the tempos went way up and the anthems started happening. And honestly, like some of the first record could have kind of like when we play them live, like when we play songs from each of those records live, we play the first record songs a lot faster than the way we recorded them. And they really do feel very much like they fit in with Avalanche United more. But yeah, it's funny, Avalanche United, we were in Japan like 4 or 5 years before we recorded Avalanche United. And we were like, we're going to make another record. I remember telling the guy that was taking care of us in Japan, like, we're going to come back. We're going to make another record. He's like, what's it going to be called? And I remember being like, it's going to be called Avalanche United. And we haven't written anything for it yet, but it's going to be called Avalanche United. And then like 5 years later, we actually followed up on it and made a record called Avalanche United. And this record, the first record, you could say I wrote most of it. I was writing it before the band was together, before we knew, so the band got together and we jammed on a lot of stuff, but for the most part, I was bringing songs to the table and we would jam on them. That was the way it worked the first time. this Avalanche United was a total collaboration. Mike Ireland he just came like into his own as a like writing punk songs and ones that fit for us. And he and I, if you want to, like, Mike and myself are the ones that would bring riffs and shit for us to jam on.
Yeah.
But it was a super collaborative record. Mike, it was such a relief to me to have another guy in the band that could write songs.
Yeah, I bet.
So Avalanche United, if you want to look at that record, like, I would say most of the big, like, the songs that are Mikey songs where he wrote the guitars and stuff were like Holy Fuck, Amsterdam, Gratitude.
Good songs.
Some of the biggest tunes on the record. So I was just like, this is fucking great. I have I don't have to write all the songs. We're going to have all these different, like, my flavor and his flavor are going to mix and just, it's going to be awesome. And that's the way it worked. Yeah. So I honestly, my favorite Avalanche record is the new one, to go back to your question.
Good. I like that.
I think this is the most solid. It has the most total bangers on it.
I would agree.
And you did. Oh, good. This is this is banger central. Like, this is this is me and Mike writing for a year and writing 20 songs and then just recording 10 of them. Like, just leave. Yeah, and sometimes taking cool parts from the other songs we threw out, and some songs aren't thrown out. Like, they could be on the next record. Like, so I know a lot of people probably say that, but this is my favorite Avalanche record, and I truly believe it's the best one.
I mean, we should timestamp that. That should be like a soundbite for future. If anyone ever has any queries about it, that's the press done. This is the best one. You don't need to talk about it. I'll take no further questions about it.
We don't need to make another one. It's over. There's a lot more to, sitting here all year with not much to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Me and Mike have been like, I'm ready to write another record. And I'm like, I'm fucking ready too. He doesn't live here anymore. He moved to New Orleans, like right before quarantine. Oof. So we don't get to sit together and drink beer and write music. But as soon as our states allow us to hang out together, right now there's travel restrictions between the states we live in. But we can certainly start writing on our own and then collaborate whenever the time is right.
Man, that'd be cool. I feel that just to sort of close that question there, I feel that this new record has the same, I'm going to say more bangers than Avalanche United. That was my previous favorite record, just for the time that, like, when I first discovered it, the history of myself in that sort of period. But I feel like when I listened to this new record for the first time, it very much sort of washed that away and replaced it with all of just a bunch of new bangers that I'm very excited for people to listen to.
Me too. And I appreciate that. Thank you. That's the idea. The idea of standing on a stage and holding a microphone up like this and having people sing the words to these new songs, like, brings a tear to my eye. I cannot wait to do that again.
One day we'll get back there. A good question that I like to sort of ask people is sort of about inspiration on this sort of stuff, because it's usually one member of a band talking about another band that they've discovered through being on BSM. But it's always interesting to hear from sort of the way that we're doing here, like, what your inspiration from the members of I Am The Avalanche has been on yourself, how that's driven your creativity, how you're just genuinely inspired by the people that you put yourself around musically.
Yeah, it's the thought of the five of us in a room, and things are. It's funny, like the friendship. Aside from everyone's musical ability, the friendship that we have carries over into our music for sure. There's a real friends and family vibe going on with Avalanche records, especially this one. That's basically it. I mean, Rat is one of my favorite drummers of all time. Kellen is my favorite bass player of all time. Mike Ireland and I have struck up such like a songwriting like companionship that is super important to me and my creativity. He rubs off on me. I know that we rub off on each other. Like sometimes we end up writing the same kind of thing because we just know where he knows where I'm gonna want to go. You know,
two peas in a pod.
Yeah, and Agro was able to come out. Brandon is his name. We call him Agro. He lives in Tennessee now, and Agro and Brandon have careers, you know, like where it was kind of clear that before all this happened, it was clear that they weren't going to be touring with us anymore. And it was super special. And also, you know, Mike and I wrote this. Kellen and Agro moved away. So Kellen moved like 3 hours from here, and Agro, like you'd have to fly to go see him. So they didn't really hear, we would send them stuff like, hey, this is what we're writing. But the way it worked with this record, even though they weren't going to be touring with us and stuff, you know, the way things happened this year, it was more like, hey, this is right before quarantine. Keep in mind, we started this record in January and finished March 15th, which is nuts. Like,
yeah, that is crazy.
Super lucky that the record exists. And it was great. You know, even though they weren't going to be touring, and even though we didn't write the record with them, we still made sure, like, Kellen came down for the weekend. He's by far like the sickest musician in the band, and he came down and learned the record and performed the entire thing in like 12 hours. And he just knows what to do. And he also knows my tendencies and Mike's tendencies. So it's easy for him to like know where we're going with it. And he'll just close his eyes and not even look at his fretboard and then track a whole song. It's insane. And it was really cool. Agro came to, he flew in, and he tattoos now in Nashville. And he came down for a weekend, and we were like, basically sat in a room drinking beers together with Rat, you know, producing, and like all of us just collaborating, being like, try this. So everybody's like, all the original members' footprint is like firmly on this record, which is really fucking important. Even with Wolverines, Mike and Kellen had left the band because they needed to concentrate on their careers at the time, and they didn't, you know. So even when we recorded Wolverines, Mikey like sent songs to me. Like, I still wanted him to be a part of it. And Kellen played bass on the record, even though he wasn't in the band or touring with us. Like, we've always kept it that way. So that's kind of, that's the vibe throughout. Like, even though dudes are, you know, we're getting older and some guys can't tour, none of us know when we're going to tour again. Yeah, exactly. But even though we're getting older and we're doing that, we all still keep it family vibes. And, you know, the studio door is the invitation to join us in the studio as we make more records and do shit. Like, that's always going to be open to all the original boys. So
yeah, it's like pure brotherly creativity forever.
Yeah. And true, like, brotherly, like, hey, I know it doesn't feel like you're in the band, but you should come to New York and be in the band for the weekend and like play guitar or play bass or just or us just be together, you know?
Yeah, man, that's beautiful. That's a wonderful place to end it. Thank you so much for taking us on this journey. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
There you have it. Thank you very much to my good friend Vinnie for carving out some time to chat to us basically about himself. And that's great. That's called PR, kids. You love to see it. Anyway, this is the second to last episode of the year, that being 2020. It's been a long old year for various reasons, but in podcast world, it has been good fun. We have not got rid of all of the bands on BSM. I can imagine that we will be spinning this through into 2021. If you like it, no one's really rated this podcast, so I'm assuming it's too good to rate. So in that case, I guess we'll just have to keep on doing it. Anyway, as always, Band on Band is hosted by me, Connor, and produced, edited, and just made glossy by the man living for the bit, the flame himself, the chef kiss, my man Oscar. If you like what you hear, it'd be amazing if someone would rate us. But like I said, it's too good to rate. Anyway, stay hydrated, call your parents, look after yourself and your friends, and till next time for the last episode of 2020, thanks for listening. Bye.